Okay, so welcome everyone. We'll begin by saluting the shrine. Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Buddhaya.
Namo Dhammaya.
Namo Dharmaya.
Namo Sanghaya.
Namo Sanghaya. Namo Namah. Om.
Okay, so welcome everyone to the Padmaloka Shrine Room. My name is Padma Sagara and I'm here with the majority of the Padmaloka community. And today is our Dharma Day festival, our Dharma Day celebration, and we'll continue with that in this session. We've already had this morning a period of meditation, first thing in the morning, and chanting. And I think we had over 60 people joining us online for the meditation. And then a talk at 10:30 and question and answers with Padmavajra, and there were well over 200 people joining us then. I wonder how many people are with us now?
About 60.
About 60 people. So again, a good number of people. It's great to have everybody with us. And we've got a puja this evening at 8:15 as well. So do come along to that if you can join us. So we wanted today to really open Padmaloka up to everybody. Whoever they are, wherever they are, by live streaming our festival day on YouTube. There's no charge for that. We do welcome donations, so if anybody would like to make a donation for any of the sessions, then you'll find a link just below this video. Okay, so this afternoon the intention is to really hear the Dharma. So we're celebrating the Dharma. We're celebrating the fact that the Buddha communicated the Dharma to others, and that communication has spread, and we're the beneficiaries of that. We're in receipt of that. We can hear the Dharma too. So this afternoon in this session, that's what we'll do. We're going to hear the Dharma, and we'll do that by doing a very traditional practice. So we'll do it through Sutra Recitation. So this is a practice of really deep listening. So listening to the word of the Buddha, listening to a sutra in a meditative way. And the sutra that we'll be hearing this afternoon is the Shorter Sukhavativyuha Sutra. And I'm just going to say a few words to introduce us to the sutra, so it'll be 5 minutes or so, so do just sit comfortably for now. And by way of an introduction to the sutra, I just want to bring to mind 3 points that Padmavajra made in his talk earlier. So the community here will have heard that talk, and some of you online will have heard the talk as well. So Padmavajra told the story of the Buddha immediately after his enlightenment, going back into the world and finding his 5 former companions and teaching the Dharma to them. And he was stressing the importance of the Buddha's appearance. Padmavajra was saying the Buddha would have looked amazing, not in terms of being well turned out and finely dressed. He'd probably looked quite ragged, but nevertheless he'd have looked radiant because he embodied the Dharma. And the 5 friends were struck by the Buddha's appearance. They were asking the question, well, who is this? What is this? And another way of talking about that would be to say that their imaginations were sparked. So in encountering the Buddha, there was a sparking of their imagination. They wanted to know what had happened to him, what had he realized. Then Padmavajra went on to tell us this morning about how the Buddha and those 5 companions went into an intensive retreat together. So even though they'd been struck by the Buddha's appearance, to actually realise what he'd realised, there needed to be time for that, and they went into this period of retreat. And the Buddha would have given them a gradual discourse, would have taught them the steps by which they could realise what he'd realised. So one way of talking about that would be to say that they needed to be prepared. So their imaginations were sparked, but they also needed to be prepared to receive the highest teaching from him. So 2 points that we can take on in terms of our own Dharma practice, that we need our imaginations to be alive, and also we need to be prepared and ready to receive the Dharma. And then the third thing Padmavajra said this morning that I think is pertinent to this afternoon is that the Dharma is communicated in all different ways. So yes, we have the worked out teachings, the conceptual, abstract conceptual expressions, but the Dharma is also communicated through images, through symbols, through myths and through stories, and very powerfully communicated through those means. So I think all of those points are relevant to a listening, a deep listening to the Shorter Sukhavativyuha Sutra. So just to say a few words about the sutra itself. As I say, it's the Shorter Sukhavativyuha Sutra. There's also a longer one. That would take a couple of hours to read, I think. This one would take less time. And the title of the sutra translates, at least in Shraddhapa's translation that we'll hear this afternoon, as the Shorter Sutra on the Abundance of Wonderful Qualities that Adorn Sukhavati. So it's a really wonderful name for a sutra. And as the title suggests, it's a description of Sukhavati. So it's a description of the qualities of Sukhavati. Sukhavati is the land of bliss, or the realm of happiness in this translation. And it's the Buddha land, or the Buddha field of the Buddha Amitabha, whose name means infinite light. And he's also called Amitayus, infinite life. So Amitabha, Amitayus, infinite light, infinite life. And in the Buddhist tradition, of course, there's not just one Buddha. So this is all worked out in the tradition. There's a whole lineage of Buddhas throughout time. So we have Buddhas of the past, the present and the future, and also across space. There are Buddhas in multiple different universes. So Amitabha, Amitayus, is the Buddha of Sukhavati, just as Shakyamuni is the Buddha of earth, we could say. But there's a difference between Sukhavati and earth, in that Sukhavati is what's known as a pure Buddha field, or Buddha land. The earth is an impure Buddha field. And the difference is that in a pure Buddha field there's no suffering. That's why Sukhavati is the realm of happiness. There's no suffering there at all. There's just perfect conditions for practicing the Dharma. So the sutra then is a description of those perfect conditions and those wonderful qualities. So we're going to hear all about the flowers, the pools, the different sounds that one finds in Sukhavati, and all about the beings that live there. So in Ratnaguna's commentary on these sutras, which you can read in great faith, great wisdom, he makes the point that the sutra is not intended to be read. It's not a book. It's not intended to be read like a book. It's actually something to do, or to perform, or even to create. So he likens it to a musical score or a script for a play. We've got the sutra in terms of the score, but in terms of the actual sound, it only really comes to life when it's enacted or when it's performed. So that's what we'll be doing this afternoon. We'll be performing the sutra. So everything that you hear as I read the sutra, all the descriptions, the idea is that you imagine what is being described. You actually visualize it in your mind so that you can inhabit, at least for a while, this other world, this other landscape of Sukhavati. So whatever I say, if I say a blue lotus, if I say the sound of bells, that something is as vast as the number of grains of sand in the river Ganges, you actually have to try to create that with your mind. Imagine that and picture that. And something that Buddha Ghosha says is that in bringing to mind particular colours, meditating on particular colours, we experience the liberation through the beautiful. The liberation through the beautiful. And what he means by liberation in that context is liberation from ordinary sense experience into dhyana, or higher states of consciousness. So through imagining the sutra, creating these images in our mind, we're raising our level of consciousness, we're making our mind malleable, we're preparing our mind for a real communication of the Dharma. Just as the Buddha prepared the minds of the 5 ascetics, they had the person, we've got the words of the Buddha, the voice of the Buddha, to prepare us for and deliver insight. Okay, so I hope that gives you a sense of how to approach what we're going to do. Just a couple of other pointers. So one is that there are some, I've written in my notes here, weird bits. There are some bits that don't make a lot of sense. Don't worry about that and don't get too tangled up in any of that, trying to think what it might mean and allowing that to be a distraction. You could just look at Ratnaguna's commentary later on for a bit more explanation. But for now, let's just relax and imagine the sutra, create the sutra in our minds. And then lastly, just in terms of the logistics, if you like, the way we're going to do this, we're going to sit first of all just for a few minutes, and then I'll start the sutra reading. I estimate that it takes about 25 minutes to read the sutra, but I'm going to include some pauses at particular points for a couple of minutes, just to allow ourselves to soak our minds in the imagery, to dwell in the imagery and its effects. And we'll aim to finish by 5 o'clock. So if at the end of the sutra there's any remaining time, we'll just have a period of just sitting and seeing what effect hearing the sutra, the deep listening to the sutra, has had on us. And then at the very end there'll be a final bell, and the community here will leave in their own time, and eventually we'll close down the computer and you can sit on for as long as you like at home. Okay, so that's the plan. We just prepare ourselves now in meditation posture or a comfortable posture to hear the sutra, and then a few minutes of sitting, and I'll begin the recitation. Begin with just a short period of just sitting. the Shorter Sutra on the abundance of wonderful qualities which adorn Sukhavati. Translated from Sanskrit by Dharmachari Shraddhapa. Homage to the All-Knowing One. This is what I have heard. Once, the Blessed One was staying in Shravasti, in Jeta's Grove, in Anartapindika's park, with a great Sangha of 1,250 monks, who were known to have attained the higher forms of knowledge. Elders, great Shravakas, who were all Arhats. They included the elders Shariputra, Mahamodgalayayana, Mahakashyapa, Mahakapina, Mahakatyayana, Mahakaustila, Revata, Shuddhipantaka, Nanda, Ananda, Rahula, Gavampati, Bharadvaja, Kalodayi, Vakala, Aniruddha, and many of the Blessed One's other great disciples. There were also many bodhisattvas there, great beings. They included Manjushri, the youthful prince of the Dharma, the bodhisattva Ajita, the bodhisattva Gandhahasti, the bodhisattva Nityadyukta, the bodhisattva Aniksiptadura, and many other bodhisattvas, great beings. Of the gods, the mighty Indra and Brahma Sahampati were present, along with a great many hundreds of thousands of other sons of the gods. At that time, the Blessed One addressed the Venerable Shariputra. To the west, Shariputra, there is a Buddha field, a world system named Sukhavati, which lies beyond countless hundreds of thousands of other Buddha fields. At the present time, a Tathagata, an Arhat, a perfectly awakened Buddha named Amitayus dwells there, teaching the Dharma. Why do you think, Shariputra, that world system is called Sukhavati, the realm of happiness? In that world system, Shariputra, in Sukhavati, living beings experience no physical or mental suffering, and there are endless causes of happiness. This is why that world system is called Sukhavati, the realm of happiness. Moreover, Shariputra, that world system of Sukhavati is adorned with 7 railings and 7 rows of palm trees with nets of small bells. There are 4 kinds of beautiful, brightly coloured precious substances scattered all around: gold, silver, lapis lazuli, and quartz. That Buddha field, Shariputra, is adorned with this abundance of wonderful qualities. Moreover, Shariputra, in that world system of Sukhavati, there are lotus ponds made of 7 kinds of precious substances: gold, silver, lapis lazuli, quartz, ruby, emerald, and coral. They are completely filled to the very brim with water, which possesses 8 good qualities, so full that a crow could drink from them, and the bottom of these ponds is evenly covered with golden sand. There are 4 beautiful, brightly coloured staircases leading down to each of these lotus ponds from the 4 cardinal directions. These staircases are made of 4 kinds of precious substances: gold, silver, lapis lazuli, and quartz. The lotus ponds are surrounded by beautiful, brightly coloured trees made of 7 kinds of precious substances: gold, silver, lapis lazuli, quartz, ruby, emerald, and coral. Dark blue lotuses grow in these lotus ponds. Lotuses dark blue in colour, of dark blue hue, dark blue in appearance. Yellow lotuses grow there, yellow in colour, of yellow hue, yellow in appearance. Red lotuses grow there, red in colour, of red hue, red in appearance. Pure white lotuses grow there, pure white in colour, of pure white hue, pure white in appearance. Many coloured lotuses grow there, of many colours, of many hues, many coloured in appearance. These lotuses are as big as cartwheels. That Buddha field, Shariputra, is adorned with this abundance of wonderful qualities. Moreover, Shariputra, in that Buddha field, there are divine musical instruments which are played constantly. The ground is a delightful golden colour. There in that Buddha field, showers of divine Mandarava flowers rain down 3 times each day and 3 times each night. In the time it takes to eat a single meal, the living beings who are born there travel to other world systems and honour countless hundreds of thousands of Buddhas. When they have each showered a Tathagata with rains of countless hundreds of thousands of flowers, they return to their own world system to rest. That Buddha field, Shariputra, is adorned with this abundance of wonderful qualities. Moreover, Shariputra, in that Buddha field there are Hamsa geese, curlews and peacocks. 3 times each night and 3 times each day they fly down and sing together in harmony, each one with their own unique voice. When they sing, their voices proclaim the 5 spiritual faculties, the 5 spiritual powers, and the 7 factors of awakening. When they hear the song of the peacocks, the minds of the living beings who dwell there become absorbed by the Buddha, absorbed by the Dharma, absorbed by the Sangha. Do you think, Shariputra, that there are living beings there who have come from the wombs of animals? You should not entertain such a thought. Why is this? It is because, Shariputra, in a Buddha field, even the names of the hells, of animals, and of the world governed by Yama do not exist. The flocks of birds which sing songs of the Dharma are manifested by the Tathagata Amitayas. That Buddha field, Shariputra, is adorned with this abundance of wonderful qualities. Moreover, Shariputra, in that Buddha field, when the wind stirs the rows of palm trees and the nets of small bells which adorn them, they make a delightful sound which soothes the mind. Shariputra, the countless hundreds of thousands of divine musical instruments make a delightful sound which soothes the mind when they are played, and so too do the rows of palm trees and the nets of small bells when the wind stirs them. When the people there hear those sounds, they recollect the Buddha in their bodies, they recollect the Dharma in their bodies, they recollect the Sangha in their bodies. That Buddha field, Shariputra, is adorned with this abundance of wonderful qualities. Shariputra, why do you think that Tathagata is known as Amitayas, infinite life? Well, Shariputra, the lifespan of that Tathagata and of the people who dwell in his Buddha field is unlimited. This is why that Tathagata is known as Amitayas, infinite life. That Tathagata attained unsurpassed perfect awakening 10 eons ago. Shariputra, why do you think that Tathagata is known as Amitabha, infinite light? Well, Shariputra, the light which radiates from that Tathagata shines unobstructed in all Buddha fields. This is why that Tathagata is known as Amitabha, infinite light. That Tathagata has an immeasurably large Sangha of Shravakas who are pure Arhats, whose numbers cannot easily be measured. That Buddha field, Shariputra, is adorned with this abundance of wonderful qualities. Moreover, Shariputra, the progress of those living beings who are born in the Buddha field of the Tathagata Amitayas as pure bodhisattvas will be irreversible, and they will only experience one more birth. The numbers of these bodhisattvas, Shariputra, cannot easily be measured. It can only be said that there is an immeasurably large, innumerable multitude of them. Living beings, Shariputra, should cultivate a heartfelt desire for that Buddha field. Why should they do this? They should do this because in that Buddha field they will be in the company of good people, such as these bodhisattvas. Shariputra, living beings with only a few roots of virtue will not be born in the Buddha field of the Tathagata Amitayas. If a child of good family hears the name of the Blessed One, the Tathagata Amitayas, and if their minds become absorbed by it for 1 night, 2 nights, 3 nights, 4 nights, 5 nights, 6 nights, or 7 nights, if their minds become undistractedly absorbed by it, then when they die, the Tathagata Amitayas, surrounded by his Sangha of Shravakas and accompanied by his assembly of Bodhisattvas, will appear before them, and they will die with an undistorted mind. When they die, they will be born in the Buddha field of the Tathagata Amitayas, in the world system of Sukhavati. Therefore, Shariputra, it is with this purpose in view that I say that a child of good family should single-mindedly cultivate a heartfelt desire for that Buddha field in their minds. Just as I praise Sukhavati, Shariputra, so too to the east, as many Buddhas, as many blessed ones as there are grains of sand in the river Ganges, praise their Buddha fields. Led by the Tathagata Akshobhya, unshakable, the Tathagata Merudvaja, he whose banner is like Mount Meru, the Tathagata Mahameru, great Mount Meru, the Tathagata Meru Prabhasha, he whose splendour is like that of Mount Meru, and the Tathagata Manjudvaja, he whose banner is gentleness. They each cover their own Buddha field with their tongue, and then describe it. You should trust in this discourse on the Dharma, called Embraced by All the Buddhas, which praises inconceivable good qualities. In the same way, to the south, as many Buddhas, as many blessed ones as there are grains of sand in the river Ganges, praise their Buddha field. Led by the Tathagata, Chandra Surya Pradipa, the luminescence of the sun and the moon, the Tathagata Yasha Prabha, glorious radiance, the Tathagata Mahachiskanda, great mass of flames, the Tathagata Meru Pradipa, the luminescence of Mount Meru, and the Tathagata Anantavirya, limitless energy. They each cover their own Buddha field with their tongue, and then describe it. You should trust in this discourse on the Dharma, called Embraced by All the Buddhas, which praises inconceivable good qualities. In the same way to the west, as many Buddhas, as many blessed ones as there are grains of sand in the river Ganges, praise their Buddha fields. Led by the Tathagata Amitayas, infinite life, the Tathagata Amitaskanda, infinite mass, the Tathagata Amitadvaja, infinite banner, the Tathagata Mahaprabha, great radiance, the Tathagata Maharatnaketu, great brilliance like that of precious substances, and the Tathagata Shuddharashmi Prabha, radiance of pure rays of light. They each cover their own Buddha field with their tongue and then describe it. You should trust in this discourse on the Dharma, called embraced by all the Buddhas, which praises inconceivable good qualities. In the same way to the north, as many Buddhas, as many blessed ones as there are grains of sand in the river Ganges, praise their Buddha fields. Led by the Tathagata Mahachiskanda, great mass of flames, the Tathagata Vaishvanara Nigosha, he whose voice is heard everywhere, the Tathagata Dundabishvara Nigosha, he whose voice is like the beating of a drum, the Tathagata Dushpradhasha, unassailable, the Tathagata Aditya Sambhava, born of the sun, the Tathagata Jalini Prabha, he whose radiance is like the ocean, and the Tathagata Prabhakara, he who sheds his radiance. They each cover their own Buddha field with their tongue and then describe it. You should trust in this discourse on the Dharma, called embraced by all the Buddhas, which praises inconceivable good qualities. In the same way, below, as many Buddhas, as many blessed ones as there are grains of sand in the river Ganges, praise their Buddha fields. Led by the Tathagata Singha, lion, the Tathagata Yashas, glorious, the Tathagata Yasha Prapasa, glorious splendor, the Tathagata Dharma, the Tathagata Dharmadhara, the bearer of the Dharma, and the Tathagata Dharmadvaja, he whose banner is the Dharma. They each cover their own Buddha field with their tongue and then describe it. You should trust in this discourse on the Dharma, called embraced by all the Buddhas, which praises inconceivable good qualities. In the same way, above, as many Buddhas, as many blessed ones as there are grains of sand in the river Ganges, praise their Buddha fields. Led by the Tathagata Brahma Ghosha, he whose voice is like that of Brahma, the Tathagata Nakshatra Raja, Star King, the Tathagata Indraketu Dvaja Raja, the king whose banner is like the brilliance of Indra, the Tathagata Gandhotama, supreme fragrance, the Tathagata Gandha Prabhasa, fragrant splendor, the Tathagata Mahachiskanda, great mass of flames, the Tathagata Ratna Kusuma Puspita Gatra, he whose limbs are adorned with blossoms made of precious substances, the Tathagata Ratnapala Shri, he whose glory is like that of blue lotuses made of precious substances, the Tathagata Savatadashi, he who sees all goals, and the Tathagata Sumeru Kalpa, he who resembles Mount Meru. They each cover their own Buddha field with their tongue and then describe it. You should trust in this discourse on the Dharma, called embraced by all the Buddhas, which praises inconceivable good qualities. Shariputra, why do you think that this discourse on the Dharma is called embraced by all the Buddhas? Those children of good family, Shariputra, who hear the title of this discourse on the Dharma, and who bear in mind the names of those Buddhas, those blessed ones which it mentions, will all be embraced by the Buddhas, and their progress towards unsurpassed perfect awakening will become irreversible. Therefore, Shariputra, you should have faith in me and in these other Buddhas, these other blessed ones. Trust in us. Do not doubt us. The progress towards unsurpassed perfect awakening of those children of good family who cultivate a heartfelt desire for the Buddha field of the Blessed One, the Tathagata Amitayus, in their minds, the progress of all those who have done so, and the progress of all those who will do so, will become irreversible. They either will be born, have been born, or are being born in that Buddha field. Therefore, Shariputra, children of good family, who possess faith should cultivate a heartfelt desire for that Buddha field. Shariputra, just as I praise the inconceivable good qualities of those Buddhas, those blessed ones, so too, Shariputra, those Buddhas, those blessed ones, praise my inconceivable good qualities. The Blessed One Shakyamuni, the king of the Shakyans, has done something which is very difficult to do. In the world system called Earth, he has attained unsurpassed perfect awakening and taught the Dharma to the whole of that unreceptive world, in a degenerate age, to degenerate beings with degenerate views, degenerate lifespans, and degenerate defilements. I have done something which is extremely difficult to do, Shariputra. In the world system called Earth, I have attained unsurpassed perfect awakening, and taught the Dharma to the whole of this unreceptive world, in a degenerate age, to degenerate beings with degenerate views, degenerate lifespans, and degenerate defilements. This is what the Blessed One said. Their hearts filled with joy, the Venerable Shariputra, the monks and bodhisattvas, along with the gods, human beings, titans and Gandharvas, rejoiced at what the Blessed One had said. This is the Mahayana Sutra, called the Shorter Sutra, on the abundance of wonderful qualities which adorn Sukhavati.